So we are going to be talking about the next phase of the testing grounds later on in the show. But before we get to that, we want to go ahead and give you a fight update because we're going to talk about some changes that will be coming live with Frozen Shores on December 9th. We have some nerfs and we have a rework coming and going live with Shinobi. So Stefan, let's go ahead and start with you. Let's talk about these nerfs. Some of these characters have been a little bit frustrating for some of our players, like Shugoki and Orochi. So kind of like bring us into these changes.
Sure. Really excited to bring to live a number of changes across kind of the board. If you're worried about frustration of playing heroes, we got nerfs for Orochi. If you're in Dominion series, top level players, we got nerfs for Raider and Shugoki. That should open up dumping out our S tier and hopefully making the A, B, C a little more interesting in terms of who picks what. We got Shinobi coming. That came from the previous testing grounds, which is really cool. And then finally, we're going to hit a few of the feats, including probably what remains as the most hated feat right now. So I can't wait for this.
So yeah. I'm very excited for the smoke bomb discussion.
I'm glad you picked that one and not the other ones. I would have been oh no.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were mentioning slippery, but okay.
That's top three then, I guess. Orochi. So let's talk a little bit about Orochi. A lot of people are complaining. We have a pretty strong Orochi out there, although it's not the most strong in the game. I think it's behind Raider and Shugoki, if you ask me. But there's a number of things people are complaining about. So finally, the Nerf bat is swinging its way. Maybe I'll pass it to you guys to talk a little bit about what are we doing to it.
Yeah, all right. So the number one complaint we had with Orochi was Dust Devil, which is the infamous dodge forward kick. We added this move in the last revamp that we did on a character, and it's really good. And having its miss recovery being able to be canceled by a dodge is quite strong, and it's also like the number one source of frustration from players. So we've removed the ability to cancel the recovery. It's miss recovery by a dodge. You can still cancel the recovery if you hit with it, so it's not as bad of a deal, but it's still quite a nerf. Should make Orochi be a little bit less safe when you throw out that attack.
Yeah, so quickly there, it's like if you believe that you deserve to punish when you dodge a kick, now you're going to get it.
Yeah, pretty much, right? On top of that, Lightning Strike is no longer undodgeable. It can only now be delayed until 400 milliseconds in the dodge. So the idea here was that the intent for the mix-up on front dodge was kick and storm rush, and not necessarily Lightning Strike. Lightning Strike is more used as a peel tool, so we wanted to make sure that Lightning Strike kept its peeling, so we didn't change when you can do it in the dodge. But now it's no longer a case of, well, I have to know if I'm going to dodge the kick or Lightning Strike or Storm Rush or what am I going to try to do. So in this case, it's, well, if you think Lightning Strike or kick are coming, you can always dodge and you're always going to be okay. And the removal of the delay there a little bit ensures that you can't just do a super late Lightning Strike and still hit somebody who dodged. So those are the base challenges that Orochi faced, that we lowered them a little bit to make sure he's a bit more less frustrating to fight against, let's say. We've got our Raider next up, right?
Raider, what's wrong with Raider? Right now, just quickly from the perspective here, I think, is we believe Raider and Shugoki are probably the two ST heroes in Dominion. We're seeing them in the Dominion series quite prevalently. So our kind of feeling is if we can nerf out these two as our S tier, maybe they'll go to A, and then therefore we'll see a bit more variety at top level play. And I'm sure some of the frustrations will also go down for full population.
So, some of the things we've done here, we can see them, is that we've lowered his HP. He's now 130 down from 140. The reason there is that we want to make sure that he doesn't have as strong a trading capability as he does before. We love the armor, we love where it is, the timings, all that sort of stuff helps Raider really shine in group fights, so that's very good. But at the same time, his HP being at 140 meant that you needed to land one more heavy, or you had to work a little bit harder to be able to get him down. So with less trading ability, it should be a bit less oppressive and harder to fight against him once you win. We've also had we've got a lot of complaints, rightfully so, I think, about the knee attack. So this is what happens after you do a Stampede charge. And the problems with it was that it was draining too much stamina. So when you did a stampede charge on somebody, you would drain 50 stamina off of them, which is rather high for like a throw, on top of being able to just like ledge them or throw them into traps or whatever you want. So with knee no longer draining stamina or stunning, the functionality is still there. You'll still smash you into the wall. You'll still knee them, but the knee won't drain stamina anymore, and it won't stun. So you still have the guaranteed light afterwards and stuff. All the good stuff that we had before still works. It's just less frustrating to face.
We should have called it storming knee attack.
Oh my God, I wanted to make that same joke.
Storming knee.
Oh my God.
Storming
Okay,
knee, yeah.
Somebody at least like bookmark that for future references, just in case. Just in case.
Storming knee. Yeah. All right. So next up, we have Storming Tap, the soft phase version specifically. So we lowered the damage to 10. It used to deal 12, and like looking back at it, having an enhanced light that is soft faintable, that's unreactable, that resets your chain, dealing 12 damage was a bit too high, so we lowered it down to 10. So Raiders gonna have to work a little bit more to kill you and do effective stuff with it. It's still good. It's still unreactable. It still has all these good properties. It just deals a smidge less damage, but over time that kind of adds up, so that feels good there. And there's also like other damage nerfs coming down the line. So Raiders top heavies and chains, so the second and the finisher now deal less damage. The second goes down to 30 from 32, and the finisher goes down to 33 from 36. These damage nerfs are necessary. Raider was trading super high, dealing a ton of damage. It also affects his out of stamina punishes a little bit. It's not major, but it still deals a bit less damage, but it's more, again, manageable. And last but not least, I think one of the other ones that are really complained about is Raider's Fury. That's Chain Zone. So it used to deal 38 damage, which is on a very, very, very high level. We had it at that because it's a very slow attack. It can get interrupted in group fights. But turns out that having such a huge trajectory that you can access rather easily, that dealt 38 damage was kind of high. So we've lowered it to 32. It still deals like quite an acceptable amount of damage at 32.
Yeah.
But going down from 38 is quite warranted, I think. That's good. Next we have Shugoki, Steph.
Same deal as Raider, basically. Just too much damage. So kind of across the board, we want to bring that down to try to drop both Shugoki and Raider out of the S tier, basically, at a damage level and not at a like kit doesn't work anymore level.
I'm not gonna lie. Anytime that I've like seen a Shugoki on the field, I've run the other way. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that I've been a coward. I didn't want to face him. So go ahead, JC. Let's go ahead and talk about these nerfs.
So that's it. So we've done a couple of changes. Mostly it's about making sure that Shugoki's damage isn't too high. And the first one here, which might not seem like, that's not gonna really get lower his damage, is side dodge headbutt. Now changed to finishers at 300 milliseconds in its recovery instead of 200. So that might not seem like much, right? You're like, oh, yeah, okay, just 100 ms later. But that 100 milliseconds helps you... Oh, no, there's a cat again. That 100 milliseconds helps you counter those side dodge headbutts, right? So if you do a dodge attack, if you do it like a little bit early or at the right timing, the odds of you hitting armor from the heavy finisher are much, much, much lower. So that helps you counter it. This does not apply to front dodge headbutt, by the way. It's only from sides. Sides are defensive moves. They have iframes. They have all sorts of good stuff. So we didn't want to like nerf Shugoki's ability to open up people and to actually do damage and go into his mix-ups. But because it's a defensive move, we wanted to tone it down a little bit so that it has a bit less efficiency. On top of that, we have Demon Ball. So Demon Ball's recovery has lowered by 100 ms, and the opponent's recovery is down by 300. Those numbers might look arbitrary, weird, what's going on here. The main reason for these is that when a Shugoki would guard break you and then do a Demon Ball, and you would go against the wall, which happens super often in ranked duel maps, Shugoki would get a free Demon's Embrace every single time. With these new timings, Shugoki does not anymore, so it doesn't create as much of a health swing off of a single GB, especially in ring duels. But in a lot of maps too, like you could like knock people down to a wall and then just get like a really, really large health difference. And so because of that, we wanted to like change that a little bit so that it's a bit more manageable.
I think he even got like a top heavy, right?
Yeah, you would get a top heavy, you get a bunch of stuff. So at least with this, like you still get Like you can still get stuff, you still get a light, but you're not going to get a heavy, you're not going to get Demon's Embrace, so that works quite well. It balances out Shugoki's damage quite a bit there. And on top of that, we have also other damage nerfs for Shugoki. So most of his heavies got nerfed. The charge heavy openers, side and top, both got lower damage. They're both going down by 4. So charge side heavy is 28, charge top heavy is 30. And uncharged heavy finishers now deal 26, down from 31. And the charge side heavy finishers is down by 6, as well as the top, so 30 and 32 respectively. Those damage, like, they're still high, right? But part of the reason why Shugoki was so strong is partly because of short-tempered, which we're going to talk about in the next slide. But basically, short-tempered made sure that Shugoki would get massive damage in group fights. Those charged side heavy finishers, like that dealt 36, would end up dealing like something like close to like 42, 44 or something. So it was like super, super high. Yeah. On zone property attacks, you would hit like 4 people around you, go nuts. So that damage being lower, like puts him more on the normal curve of damage. And even with short tempered, you still go up. With short tempered, you're actually going to get 36 now instead of not even 36. You would have gotten 36, you're going to get 34. But it's a little bit different now.
I've never heard such a defensive 6 damage nerf in my life. This is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta figure that. I understandably, some people might not be happy about this, so we have to make sure that people know and understand the logic behind our reasons.
Very good defense of the defense.
So feet balance changes, Steph.
Oh, across the board. I mean, like everyone can see the giant red beacon arrow pointing towards the bottom one there, thankfully. But just before we get to that one, I guess kind of across the board, it's just shaving a bit of damage, a little bit of the times that Orochi can put you out of stamina with a Ki, down the damage on Orochi as well with slip through, and then smoke bomb. Thankfully, not being the worst thing in the universe anymore.
Yeah. So quickly, short-tempered, the damage buff used to be 20%, now it's 15%. More manageable. Slight nerf to Shugoki. Also affects Aramusha, but on a much lower scale. So that feat used to replace Rocksteady. So now it's short-tempered, and short-tempered, it won't be as strong as it used to be. Slip-through has changed also quite a bit. It used to give Orochi a lot of damage, especially on like Riptide. So what we've done with slip-through is that the damage buff that you gain when you dodge only applies to the attack that you deal out of a dodge, and the effect is removed as soon as damage is dealt. As soon as actually a hit line, like after the first attack actually like hits, misses, or is blocked or whatever, but the damage buff gets removed immediately, so you can't go like Riptide into a combo light and get that extra damage on top of that. We've also nerfed the damage buff it gives. It used to be 40%, now it's 30%. Again, like Orochi with this was way above the curve in terms of damage, so we've lowered that a little bit. And it can also now trigger every 3 seconds instead of every second. So what that means is you might not get it on every single dodge if you keep dodging all the time trying to use this. And with these changes, Ben, I don't know if you want to tell us, there's been some interaction with Nusha that this ends up doing, right?
Yeah. Caltrops used to interact with this feat very favorably, let's say, where as long as he was just kind of dodging left and right, the feat would activate just by dodging. But now that it no longer does, the Caltrops are no longer buffed while the Nusha is dodging. So the Nusha has to actually commit to a dodge attack for the Caltrops to be buffed for a very small time. So it should make the Caltrops a lot less annoying, but still a ridiculously good feat. So don't worry about that one too much. Yeah, so
Caltrops is still really good, right? It's just a matter of like it won't get massively buffed by this anymore, and you're not going to melt people down as fast as you used to. Okay, so next up is Ki. So we've increased the cooldown for Ki by 15 seconds from 90 to 105. Again, like Steph was saying, it's mainly a feature of Orochi being able to Ki you every single fight, putting you out of stamina, and then putting such an insane amount of pressure on you that it was like really, really hard to get out of. So by nerfing the cooldown a little bit, it should be a bit more manageable. You're not going to get Ki'd all the time, and it should work a little bit better.
Here it is.
Yeah. Here it is, right? Smoke bomb.
The pièce de résistance.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? Smoke bomb is probably the most hated feat in the entire game. It's been banned by the competitive players for I don't know how long now. It used to do all sorts of crazy things, like it would like prevent lock, prevent capturing points. It gave people stealth. It made you unable to parry external attacks, like all sorts of things. We found some cute little nuggets in there while we were going through it as well. Like it would block line of sight, like do all sorts of crazy things. So we've got rid of all of that because it was much too complicated, and it also like created like really unfavorable gameplay scenarios. So instead, now what happens is you throw smoke bomb, and all of your opponents within its blast are stunned for 5 seconds. 5 second stun is still quite a long stun. You can use smoke bomb a bit more efficiently while you're in a group fight. You can go run up to people, throw a smoke bomb, then they're going to be stunned, and then you don't see indicators for 5 seconds. So you can still throw unblockables, do all sorts of stuff. They're still probably going to land, but they're going to be able to be dealt with and parried and all that sort of stuff. And you can still throw a smoke bomb, stun people around you, and then just run away. And they're not going to see your indicators. It's a bit scarier. So it still works, not as efficiently as it did before, but you can still do stuff with it. But you can no longer just go, hey, look, I'm on his own. Smoke bomb. Oops, you can't capture it. So that was a big thing there.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Whatever the functionality, I'd be happy.
All right, so now we have Shinobi, right?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do Shinobi. Basically, we had some testing grounds for this hero. We made a bunch of edits based on the 2 testing grounds that were there. Finally, we're ready to go live with a set of those changes before and a few more edits. So this will be exciting. One more hero from the both the dumpster and the strange, frustrating universe to hopefully viable at this point.
All right, cool. Yeah. So, quick recap. So the feedback we got from the testing grounds was much more positive than the first time. We still had to do some changes to make the character more viable and make it more workable. So let's go through them round. So first up, we're gonna have front roll, right? So front roll, really cool move. It was good, but it wasn't as good as it should be. So what we've done is we've made it have a very high amount of iframes. So it's 600 milliseconds. As a note, basically you can cancel out of your front roll into like a flip kick or sickle rain or whatever at 600. So you're essentially full iframe until you actually do those attacks. That's quite good. It is now 900 milliseconds, down from 1,000, so it executes a bit faster. And on top of that, as a little bonus, we wanted it to we want people to feel as if it was a dodge. So it also changed to double dodge. So you can now do front roll, double dodge, like smoke dodge for some people, if that's what you want to call it. But you can front roll dodge and really reposition yourself in group fights and do all those sorts of good things. It's super interesting, works much better than before, and also has like more utility. So backflip. Backflip is similar to front roll, right? So the idea is that we want to have front roll and backflip to be very, very, very similar in feeling. Feel like they're dodges, feel like you can avoid attacks with them, and also chain to the same attacks as one other. So backflip now also has 600 milliseconds of iframes. Super good. You can avoid attacks, all sorts of stuff with it. It's 900 up from 600 milliseconds. So, but you can still chain out of it at 600. So you can go to sickle rain into kickflip now also. So you can do backflip into kickflip or backflip into sickle rain. You can't go into front roll anymore because that ended up being more frustrating for players than anything. You couldn't really it was hard to reinitiate with a Shinobi after you did a backflip, and so we wanted to make sure that Shinobi could actually backflip into an attack that was working. I know a lot of players. It's one of the big feedbacks we've gotten that people wanted to have the range heavy back after backflip. We've decided to remove it because the biggest issue is if you can't target swap it, it's pretty much useless. And we don't want it to be target swappable because then we go back to the issue we had in the first testing grounds, which is you can get an off-screen, unblockable, bump, unreactable attack, which feels extremely bad. So instead, we've focused on having Shinobi having these tools where he's slippery, gets in and out, does all those cool things, but it's still not super frustrating as it used to be.
The specificities of just how problematic such a move is like if it's not controlled by a cooldown like a feat is, like projectiles are in that sense, or you don't have a certain risk to doing it, like Shaman will move quite heavily forward and be punishable because she's now within your range when she misses. Then it becomes very hard because like Shinobi's still super far away. How can you punish a thing that you've dodged or missed? And if you're dealing with group fights where Shinobis are 8 meters away and slapping you for free constantly, like it's a bit difficult.
Yeah, and on top of that, we've actually done tests where like we reduce the range of the range attacks, and it just feels really bad because the range just feels super arbitrary, and you just miss. You're like, why did I miss? Oh, I was in 1 pixel in the right direction or whatever. So at least this way, it's all more consistent as well.
Yeah, if it came with a cooldown, or if it came with like your body moves within range of the tools of the opponent,
that would be different.
These are moves that work, but this is not how this one works. So
exactly. All right, next up, flip kick. Right, so again, in keeping with the theme of having Shinobi being really slippery, being able to perform really well in group fights, but really offensively, you can now target swap flip kick. So you can do front roll target swap flip kick, back flip target swap flip kick. So again, like people that want to range heavy there, you can still you're going to be able to do a flip kick instead. But as Stefan said, because you are moving with your flip kick and you're not just like off screen doing stuff, it's a lot more manageable. And to make sure that it actually reaches people, you can now move forward slightly more when you're using it. So it feels much better. So that's pretty good for that attack. So next up, front dodge. So, oh my God, I see a new option here. I don't know what that means. So front dodge kick is back at 300 milliseconds. And front dodge, we had tried it at 200. For Shinobi specifically, the experiment did not work because he didn't have another attack. So as soon as you would say Shinobi like front dodge, you would just side dodge and you would avoid everything, right? So it wasn't necessarily good enough. So we put it back at 300, but on top of that, we added a new attack, which is a front dodge heavy. It's 700 milliseconds, feintable. You can do it from run to 500 milliseconds in the front dodge, and it initiates chain. So Max, show us the video. So there we go. Brand new attack. Looks really cool, really different from what Shinobi typically has, but it's very useful. You can chase down people with it. You can open up people with it, do a lot of stuff. You can try to do some peeling. Super amazing. Doesn't feel a ton of revenge like the kicks do, so it's really, really interesting move. I think that it will really open up a lot of venues for Shinobi. Okay, so we're reaching the end now, but let's keep going. So zone attack, right? So zone attack was one of those things that we didn't really do much of in the previous testing grounds. And Shinobi's zone attack actually still felt quite lackluster. Like it's quite good in the lane. Like it's actually one of the better lane clears. But at the same time, you wouldn't really use it in group fights or whatever because it was kind of bad. So what we've done is first we've reduced the stamina cost. So it goes down from 17, like it's 3 hits. So it was 17, 17, 21. It's now 15, 15, 10. So that's quite a large reduction in stamina costs. And on top of that, so we want you to be able to use it and do more stuff with it. You can now backflip at the same timing as a feint. So if you do like zone attack and then press dodge, and you do it quickly enough, you're going to do the first hit and then backflip, which is pretty interesting. And you can also chain to sickle rain. So you can do zone attack into sickle rain. So you can actually go into a 1v1 situation, for example, throw out a zone attack, go into your sickle rain, do all sorts of mix-ups at top that's still unblockable, do good mix-ups with that, works quite well. So that's it for zone attack, but it should make the attack a lot more viable. And then last but not least, on Shinobi, there's a couple of other changes. Most importantly is HP. We're back to 120. He used to be at 110. It was sort of warranted due to like all the ranged attacks and all sort of stuff. We wanted him to be more of a glass cannon. But now with Shinobi having a lot less of those options, it doesn't make any sense for him to be at 110. So at 120 works much better, less squishy. That's pretty interesting. And we've also adjusted the tracking, trajectories, and forward movement of most of his light and heavy attacks. It should make him a lot more consistent, right? Because a lot of the time you would throw out an attack with Shinobi, he would barely move forward, you would miss, you'd be like, why did this miss when it hits with pretty much everybody else? So with these changes, it should really, really help with the consistency of these things and being able to land them. So Steph, Ben, what are your thoughts on Shinobi?
He's great. Like I really love playing him now, and yeah, we did a really good job on him. Honestly, I think like all the problem points were kind of handled very well, and like we did a super good job at making him feel like a ninja without having the long range sickle stuff. So props to that. Yeah.
It's cool. It's super hype. I mean, Shinobi, she got good buffs. Orochi, she got good nerfs. Raider, she got good nerfs. Shugoki, he got good nerfs. And the feats, which are mostly Orochi, good nerfs or semi
Good nerfs.
Giant nerfs, let's say.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so
like,
super good.
yeah, so like, we'll definitely get, see how the community kind of feels about it whenever that comes out on December 9th. Everything we just talked about will be launching with Frozen Shores, so definitely once you update your game, go ahead and try out Shinobi and Shugoki and Orochi and all that stuff and send us your feedback. But now, let's go ahead and dive right into the new testing grounds, which will be launching December 30th and running to January 6th. Ben, we have some very interesting stuff. We have some Dominion stuff that we want to get into, but we also have a rework as well. So let's go ahead and dive right in and start with Dominion series.
All right. Happy New
Or
Year.
Dominion. Sorry, I'm thinking about the Dominion series because like I love Dominion. Just Dominion. My bad.
Just
you have
Dominion.
the floor. You have the floor.
All right. So just a little summary here. We had 2 weeks, right? We had 2 weeks of Dominion feedback to go through. The first week was one set of values, and the second week was another set of values. So in the first week, when we looked at the data, we saw that the matches were too long. So like a good minute longer than the usual live matches. And less people were getting to their feed 4 than on live. And we saw that we might have been a bit too harsh on the minion lane. So those were kind of the main takeaways. And then in the second week, we saw that like on live, about 58% of people get to their feed 4 in a average Dominion. On second week, 44% made it to their feed 4. So that was clearly something we needed to tackle. So by making the length of the matches exactly like on live, which we thought was a win at first, but we also needed to take into consideration the renown values that might not have been high enough for people to reach feed 4 in that amount of time. But we also saw that we had a perfect point split between the capture zones and the minion. So what do? We're pretty happy with where the renown is. We just feel that it took too much to get to your feats. So what we're going to be doing for the second TG is drastically lower the thresholds. So as you can see in the image, feed 4 is now 320. So we're hoping that by lowering it this much, we're going to get back to the about 58% of people getting their feed 4 by the end of the match. On the next topic, we have the capture speeds. That one's a bit of a trouble spot. Like a lot of people have strong opinions on that one. Some people wanted the team aspect of, if you go as a team, you get on a point, it goes faster. It made sense for a lot of people. But in the end, we decided to keep the aspect of always the same speed, no matter how many people are on it. There are pros and cons to this, but we feel that the pros are outweighing the cons. So on the pro side, we have, well, you're going to start healing faster. You're going to start making points faster. You're going to have a easier time getting out of breaking, and it's going to be easier to capture and prevent infinite contests. So that would happen sometimes on the small maps like Beachhead, where a point would be contested the whole game. So because now it's a bit faster to capture, we can hope that it will change hands a bit more often. And on the cons, we have maps like Beachhead that is definitely going to be defender favored with these values, because then the defenders will always be able to go get the points before they can be contested. So that's kind of a bummer. It's going to be slightly easy for dead balls, still harder than live, because if you had 4 people going on a point, it used to take 0.9 seconds to capture. It's going to be 4.5 now. and it's going to be slightly harder to defend. So obviously, 1 less second to go back to your point to prevent the back cap is 1 less second. But we feel it's less of a a negative than all the pros that I listed earlier.
Because it should be hitting the death balls more than a solo, right? If you're a solo who caps a zone, it's going to take you the same amount as if they spent 2 or 3 or 4 players to spend a zone. So if you've got 4 players running around the map killing everybody, and you have 1 player backcapping, that 1 player isn't wasting their time. It's actually worthwhile now.
Yeah, exactly. And so as a summary, as I said earlier, we're not going to be changing the renown at all. To be honest, we tried the defending zone a little in our tests, but as soon as we made it to like even 5, we found that it gave you a ton of renown for just playing the game normally. It didn't feel like we're really getting that by spending any amount of effort. So we're keeping it at 0, keeping the same values as week 2, because we feel they are pretty spot on. And on the next slide, we have the points, which again, we reached a perfect split. Like on average, minion lane gave as many points for a team as both points together. So we feel that these values are super close to where we want to be in the future. And as an added bonus for people playing in the TG, we have a new UI gizmo that the UI team helped us develop. So if you look on the top left and compare it to the top right, you'll see that we now have a, we call it the renown widget. So basically, every time you gain renown, it's no longer going to be lost in the text log of people going good fight, good fight, good fight, congratulating you for being a good Orochi player, all the capture points that you did, and all that stuff. So you're going to be able to see the renown that you just gained for a kill, for a minion kill, for capturing, for boosting, all that good stuff. And you're still going to be able to see whoever you kill, so that you can be happy about getting that troll that just keeps killing you with Orochi.
This might not seem like much, honestly, but when we've been playing with it for a little while now, it makes things so much more easy to understand. Like seeing the exact amount of renown you got is amazing. And
right by the renown meter, which makes total sense.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It just makes so much sense. So Stefan, you want to bring us to the next one?
Yes. I guess we're going to Conqueror now.
Yep. Conqueror rework. Let's go.
Sorry, Conqueror.
So what are we trying to do here?
Do you want to launch it?
You go, please.
Okay, quickly. The one kind of major one I'll talk about is like all the offense is concentrated into one spot. Dodge forward or counter side dodge, shield bash into guaranteed light into sit there menacingly is Conqueror's kind of offensive game plan.
Menacingly being the keyword here. Like I'm always scared because it's all that you're gonna see is gonna bash you with his shield.
And otherwise, like when you look at like the zone info block and stuff like that, it's like Conqueror sits in the lane, surrounded by minions, target swaps to the minions. You cannot hit the Conqueror unless you have a bash that you can put in the hole between the zone. And you're like, what is going on? This is extraordinarily frustrating to fight. And it's not, I mean, maybe some Conqueror players love it, but I mean, like, I don't know. It does not seem exciting to me.
Yeah, and on top of that, like that was like, it's borderline option select, right? I think Conqueror is the only one that was basically still had an option select, because if you threw a regular heavy, a regular light, or whatever, Conk could just zone and parry you, or by the way, I'm gonna go into my zone and I'm gonna block it. So I think that's a big. We're gonna have a big win there as well.
Definitely a lot of jank with this move, so let's try to clean it up a little bit.
All right. So we're gonna go like step by step. Like at the end of this, you'll be like, "Is this even Conqueror anymore?" Because there's a lot of stuff to go through. So
hopefully you'll conquer your heart.
Oh my god, yeah. All right. So charging state. So to be clear, charging state is before you are fully charged. All right. So now you can start charging while you're in a chain. Anytime you can do a heavy, you just hold that heavy, and he's gonna start charging. If you release a heavy before the full charge, you're gonna do a chained heavy, which we'll get to a bit later. It's faster to get to your full charge from 600 to 900 ms. You no longer have any defense while you're in this state to kind of balance it out to make it more of a offensive thing more than a defensive thing. You can no longer cancel the charge with a dodge. You can no longer cancel the charge with a bash either. Also, you'll understand why later. And the charging no longer depletes stamina. So just going like this should not be winding you up, so to speak. So it's not gonna anymore. And on the full charge, so while you're ready to release the charge to go into your unblockable, you can cancel that with a guard break now. You can cancel that with a dodge. You can feint. The feint is no longer 300 ms. It's faster, and it gets you to your quick guard break. And it no longer pauses your stamina regeneration. So you can be at 5 stamina, start your charge, and you're going to see your stamina go back up. So that feels amazing. Let's see some footage of that. So no longer any defense. You can dodge while you're fully charged. Good stuff. And there you go. The beauty of just doing a charge at the middle of your chain and then keep going. Next, we have the heavies. On the heavy side, well, you can feint them now. This is why I get paid the big designer moolah, right? I see a heavy, and I'm like, "Can you feint it, Steph?" And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "What if we can?" Huh? And I get a big check in the morning, and they're like, "Yeah, okay."
What a profound question.
Yeah. So
I mean, it made total sense, right? He would feint it with putting his shield down instead of just stopping attacking. I mean, totally
so that was one of the reasons why CONQ is just dodge bash the character into Watchmen. Basically, is that he could feint his heavy, so you can't even start threatening someone with a heavy because they're just like, well, I guess I'm just gonna block it. And if you go into a shield bash instead, it's so slow I can dodge it. So now you can feint them. You can no longer cancel them into the shield uppercut because we no longer wanted with the shield uppercut. Well, it's the shield bash mix-up. With the shield bash mix-up now being actually fast and unreactable, we didn't want the CONQ to just be a bash machine, like always throwing bashes at you. Feels like it would be kind of frustrating. We made the recoveries standardized at 800 ms, so no longer any of those 1 second recoveries. We made the side trajectories much better, so you can hope to tag some people on external once in a while. The opener heavy no longer has any superior block on the strike. That's something that the walking fortress type player will not like, because now you can no longer try to parry a light and then block the heavy afterward just for letting go of that heavy. And the heavies in chain are now undodgeable, which makes the Conqueror, I think, the only character that has a infinite chain undodgeable. It's pretty crazy. I can't wait to see the reactions on this one. I can see them actually here. The beautiful feints. There you go. And then we can do the feint on the full unblockable as well. And then we have the undodgeable heavy that the Orochi will not like, I guarantee you. Next up, we have the zone attack. So another big chunk of why the Conqueror is such a fortress and unpregnable fortress. So we want him to be pregnable. Is that a word?
Impenetrable, maybe?
Sure.
More like...
No, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. Okay, so on the minion lane, like Stefan said earlier, you can do some real shenanigans with that by focusing on a minion, and people without a bash they're screwed. They can't do anything. So we remove the full block from the zone attack. You can't hold it anymore. It's now just a single hit attack. We gave it a better trajectory, so it's gonna hit more people. We obviously give it more damage, obviously, because it's no longer gonna be like always out. We made it faster, and we made it initiate change. So a bunch of good stuff, a quality of life, while removing some of the more defensive options, you could say. So there you go, chaining, chaining to heavy, and chaining to the shield bash mix-up. Oh, what a segue. All right, move to the next slide. Boom! Shield bash mix up in chain. So that's your shield bash in a chain. Again, this is why you didn't want to press buttons with Conqueror before. You did a light, you pressed X, you would do a 800 ms bash that my grandma could probably dodge. I can't, but my grandma probably could.
She has amazing skills, your grandmother, for these things.
She's just built different.
Yeah.
So it no longer wall staggers. It costs less stamina to do. You can no longer chain on miss because it's unreactable. It's much less of a commitment than it used to be. It has better forward movement, so you can target swap people in a group fight and hope to get them. And it no longer deals stamina damage or pause stamina regeneration. So thank God for that. Let's see an action right here.
Out of stamina all the time.
I mean, you were doing that, yeah, with the dodge bash forward, the same thing happens. So yes, no more out of stamina bullying with the conk where you're out of stamina for like 2 minutes. All right, next we have the flail uppercut. So bit of confusion there possible here. You know the flail uppercut as the move that you did from your full block stance. You would block an attack and then you go more. Now that move is after the shield bash, right? So you go shield bash, you press light, it's gonna do the flail uppercut, and it's immediate damage, which you can then use to flow into your chain lights or your chain heavies or your full charge. It's actually an excellent moment to start full charging because your opponent is gonna be in a medium hit reaction, so you have time to charge before they can start retaliating. So 9 stamina, 12 damage, 500 ms. It's uninterruptible stance, so you can actually throw it out and people might try to interrupt you and you're just going to tank that hit and still do your damage. It changed to all the good stuff. And you can press heavy if, so if you do a shield bash and you think someone's going to try to guard break your vulnerability on the flail uppercut, you can just swap target and do your chain heavy, and boom, you're gonna get that guy. So we gave you the freedom to be able to do that. Next, we have the full block stance. Again, a pillar of the hero that we're doing a lot of changes to. So it no longer does
shield after.
Yeah, he has a big shield. So you can roll the video while I talk, I guess. There's no longer any stamina cost to blocking attacks. So if you're playing on live right now and you're doing this, you're out of stamina 5 seconds. Every heavy would take out like 25 stamina or something. So no longer any of that. You can even go into that state and recover stamina. You can dodge cancel out of it, as you saw. And you can cancel the recovery of your moves into turtle stance, much like other heroes like the Blackbriar can do. And you can also go directly from a block into full block stance. Just so if someone's trying to do like an infant chain on you, you can actually just go into per block stance and do your punish. There is no longer any zone attack from this stance, sadly, but it will no longer really make sense for it, because it no longer has a full block anyway. So we just took the opportunity away and made it better as a defensive tool more than a, I guess, a toxic one, you could say. Yes, I think that went through all of it. And we have the new move. So this replaces flail uppercut. It's called the Scottish Collection. Google that word. It's pretty cool. It works very well with the lore of the Conqueror. So when you're blocking something with the full block stance and you press heavy or zone, you're going to do this new move. I guess you can show it, Max. It has full block. It's unblockable. It costs 12 stamina. It does 20 damage, and you can initiate chains with it. So boom, and brand new opportunity. Look at this. You can superior block dodge into an attack and press heavy to do Scottish Collection. So you can still do that and do the shield bash to get a guaranteed shield bash, but now it's just instantly better to be doing the Scottish Collection in a group fight, because it's going to be doing a ton of damage. So
yeah, it's really cool. Honestly, in a group fight, you manage to block a single attack from one person, get everybody off of you with that big thing. It's really, really cool.
Chef's kiss. Next, we go to the light attacks, and this one just speaks for itself. What happens if you throw lights in the same stance? Whoa. Oh.
No more molasses.
It's kind of absurd that this is even needed to be done. But yes, you no longer throw a 900 ms light if you throw two lights in the same direction. I got this information from the crease in my hair. Sometimes I get data going in there, and it's like, oh, fast lights in the same direction. So I bet all the Conqueror mains will be happy to see that one. We made it even faster on the recovery, and we gave it more forward movement. So again, you can target swap and hit people in a group fight. Next, we have the unblockable heavy. No video to cover that one, but it's pretty simple. Basically, it's faster. It always deals 32 damage no matter what stance you do it from. And again, we made it travel farther, so in a group fight, you're more comfortable target swapping. And last but not least, the shield bash from neutral. So you're dodging, you're doing a forward shield bash. We delayed the start of the shield bash from 100 ms to 200 ms. And it no longer deals stamina damage or pauses stamina regeneration. So, as a Conqueror, someone out of stamina in front of you, I mean, you can still do that, but he's gonna get his stamina back. So, that covers all of it. There's a lot to see and play around with. So, I'll be really curious to see what the community thinks of that one. And that's it for me.
Yeah, you definitely weren't kidding when you said that Conqueror, like, it's essentially just a new version of Conq because there's so many changes to him, and there's a lot that you guys added to him. So I'm very excited because as someone who doesn't really play Conq a ton, I'm really interested to kind of get into that on the testing grounds for sure.
Mm-hmm. We converted a lot of people into playing Conq in our play sessions locally.
Yeah. On the dev team, a lot of people that didn't used to play Conq now actually love playing him. So that's pretty interesting.
That's super awesome. I'm super excited. So to recap, just let everyone know what's going live on December 9th with Frozen Shores. We have the Orochi, Raider, Shugoki, and Feet nerfs. And we also have a Shinobi's rework, which is coming with a couple of tweaks. And then, of course, what we just discussed with the Dominion and the rework to CONQ, that will be with the testing grounds going live on December 30th, going to January 6th. But that right there, that's it. Steph and JC, Ben, thank you so much for coming on. And before we go, Steph, I do believe you have one thing that you'd like to add before we get out of here.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Captain Grant and Arle Verite for sending us some interesting mail with Highlander and a sick comic there. So the dev team quite appreciated it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it was super cool to see those things, honestly.
Very nice, yeah.
Awesome.
And one last thing I'd like to add super quickly on the Shinobi rework side, we have the full patch notes available, so you can go look at an exhaustive list of changes. What we've presented today is what changed from the last testing grounds to now, just so that everybody's clear. I know there's been some confusion for that in the past, so this way, like, we know if you want to get the full list, go look at the patch notes. We wrote everything down, so you have everything that's going on with it.